you'll have access to everything when we're all done. Let's see, can you do this for me? Because we have an hour together to explore Google Forms, and it's a pretty big concept for that amount of time. Can you do me a favor and head over to the chat, and can you give yourself a quick evaluation on a 1 to 5 scale? I like to use these all the time. 1 would be like, what's a Google Form? I have no idea what you're talking about. I just clicked on a link this morning. 5 would be like, I'm a Google Forms expert. Greg, hang up from the call and I will lead the session from here. And then you can be a 2 or 3 or 4. So self-evaluation, Google Forms. And I really appreciate the like 3 point something or like 2.74. Those are always awesome to start the day out with. So feel free to get super specific with your form as well, and I'll keep an eye on those numbers. All right, so it seems like everyone's like aware of it. Maybe we have some beginner users. So what we're going to do, because I see a couple of 1s and so a lot of 2s in here, we're going to start from the very beginning and just kind of get everyone up and running. Like, how do you build a form? What are the components of a form? What are some ideas to think about when you're going to start creating? Then, depending on the pace and the comfort level, we can get into things like making auto-graded formative assessments so kids can get their kind of return immediately and know how they're doing. We can even look at some advanced things if you want, and if you're comfortable doing this, like branching forms. And what that means is students get an experience and they go to a section of your form based on how they answer a particular question. So if they were to answer a question, like, you know, say you give them a multiple choice question, if they answer it a certain way, they go down a certain path and they get an experience based on that answer. So we can do things like that as well. I'll show you all the different types of questions you can include. Oftentimes people are just generally unaware, which is understandable, that you can have file upload questions. You can make grid questions where you might have 2 ideas, 1 series of ideas across the top and another series of ideas here. Like, as a former history teacher, I might have events listed up here and like people or dates listed here, and the kids have to align them and match them up. These are the kinds of questions you can build in a Google form. We'll go through the process of distributing your form. And just to confirm for me as well, Google Classroom is the environment that you're working in. Is that accurate? Like a head nod would be totally fine. Google Classroom, okay. Have you done this? Have you used Google Classroom to distribute forms, or use Google Classroom to make graded quizzes? So I can like see Nicole, Joyce, John, have you done this sort of thing, like graded quizzes in Google Classroom? We have not. I see some heads nodding no. So we can get into that. Some yes, some no. We can get into that as well. So with that, let me do a screen share. Let me get into my stuff. I like to do a lot of live demos, so I'll be live demoing throughout the session. Let me just get my slides pushed up and we can jump right into it. All right, so here we go. Google Forms. What is Google Forms? If you're really new to this, the big idea is that 3 key phases to Google Forms. There's the creation phase, and I'll kind of go through that process. Then there's the distribution phase where you kind of push that link out to your kids. And then there's the analysis phase where you collect the data. In terms of a resource for you moving forward, I'm just going to give you a link to what could be a really helpful Google Help page. Let me give 1 second. I'm just going to drop this in the chat for you. There's a link to a really helpful Google Help page on Google Forms that you can check out. Maybe put that in your records somewhere. Let's do a really quick overview of what are we talking about, and then I'll just jump into a live demo. When you're building a Google form, there's kind of 3 areas to pay attention to. On the top of your form, you can build your questions, and you can then do the responses. In the top right of your form, that's where you can get the link to send it out. That's where you can do any modifications you need to make in the gear, and I'll do all this live. And then even if you wanted to get into some advanced stuff, we had a session yesterday on add-ons in Google. There's add-ons here in this little puzzle piece that you can get for Google Forms as well, and I can kind of walk you through that process. When you're building, this whole tool menu here lets you add questions, add images, add section breaks, video. So all the content that you're adding to your form, you can do that here. So that's the basic overview. When you are actually building your form and adding your questions, This is something that I'm always a little bit surprised that people don't open up this drop-down menu and notice all of the question types that you can add. Like I was working with a group yesterday and the math teacher was saying, I want my kids to work on paper and then turn in their paper to me. No problem, you can add a file upload question. Or like I said, I want my students to have a multiple choice grid where they have ideas listing horizontally, ideas listing vertically, and they have to match them up in a grid. You can build those question types, like that's totally reasonable. So there's so many question types we can build in, and we'll do all that demoing live. So what I'm gonna do right now is go live into a form. Now here's a little hack, and this cannot be your takeaway from the day. Anytime you want to make something new inside of Google Drive, you don't actually have to go to Google Drive to do it. If I want a new form, all I have to type in my browser is form.new, and it makes a new Google form, and it saves it in Drive. I know this is a form session, but if you want a new doc, type doc.new. If you need new slides, type slide.new. So I need a new form, so I'm gonna type form.new, and it bumps open my Google form for me. Right, so from here, now I can get started. Now I'm gonna do this live demo, so I'll call this Triton Live Demo 1. When I built my forms, I made them the same 3 questions every time on the top. I would always do last name, short answer, add a question. First name, short answer, add a question. And then the third question I was always add would be class period. The reason why I would do that, and especially now, let's say you teach first, second, third, and fifth period, and that's all the same class, like my world history class or my politics class. I would want to take this form and distribute it to all 4 of those classes, have kids indicate which class period they're in, and then later on the spreadsheet, I can filter by class period or organize by class period, and that can be super helpful. This is how I always built. And then I would add a section break. And I think this is also an underused tool. The section break allows kids to do last name, first name, class period, and then they hit next, and then they get into their check-in content, their formative assessment content, their quiz content. So when I'm building my untitled section, I might call this check-in section 1, just to be really kind of explicit with what I'm doing so it makes sense. You can call it anything you want. So now let's add some questions. Now here's another feature to be aware of. You can, if you want to, you can shuffle the experience for the student, for the end user. If you're going to shuffle the question experience, you have to build in sections. And what I mean by that is, say I put a map and I have 3 questions related to the map. And then I put like a graphic and I have 3 questions related to the graphic. If I just build that all vertically without section breaks, if I shuffle it and have my kids take it, it might put the map and the graphic and then 6 questions. Or it might put 4 questions, the map, 2 questions, the graphic, and kids have no idea what's going on. But if you build in sections, it will shuffle in the section internally, but it will kind of preserve the structure of your form. So that's something to think about if you're going to decide to shuffle and have every kid get their own experience. The other reason why this is helpful is when kids open the form up, they won't see like 15 questions and get a little bit overwhelmed. You break it into like a chunk of 3 or 4 questions, they work on those, they hit next. A few more questions, they work on those, they hit next. So I think this might start to kind of make sense in terms of what we can build. Now, when I'm ready to build, anytime we have a blue bar, you'll add below the blue bar. So this blue bar is lit up. If I click the plus sign to add a question, it will go below the blue bar. All right, so let's do a multiple choice question. What did Greg coach? Football, soccer, hockey, basketball, wrestling. Right, so there's my multiple choice question. It's multiple choice. I, by default, have all of my questions required. I never have to click that switch. If you want that set in as well, you can head up to the triple dots and preferences. So triple dots preferences. And my preference is to make every single question required. I don't want to have to click that switch. So that saves me a little bit of time and energy every time I make a form. So there's my open response, my multiple choice question. let's add another one. So I'll do add question. In this one, I'll demo that multiple choice grid so you can see what that experience is going to be like. Match the player to the team. So the teams, oh, there's Lakers, Rockets, Celtics, and who else is playing right now? Oh, we'll do Raptors. Right, so I have to match the players up. So Tatum is 1, Harden is 1. There's another one, and let's do. Right, so there's my players, there's my team. So this would be that kind of grid experience like this, where the kids can go, oh, there's the concept, and then I'll match it up with this other concept. So it's an interesting way to build a question. Now, if it's multiple choice grid, they have to have one matched up in each column. If I did checkbox grid, they could have like multiple checkboxes. So you can have like overlap between the checkboxes as opposed to only being allowed to do one in each quadrant. So it's just another interesting question type. Let me show you another question type that often gets overlooked. I'll go with the plus icon to add a question. And let's do, please upload an image of your math problem solving. Right? And the question type is going to be file upload. Right? It says files will be uploaded to my Google Drive account. Everyone who responds will be forced to sign in to Google when they upload, right? Make sure you only share this with people you trust, because you don't want people uploading files to your Google Drive account that you don't know who they are. I will hit continue. Right, so now it's a file upload. I can decide they can only allow specific file types. So if I click that switch, it goes, sure, what would you like kids to upload? I'll say, I only need images. Or maybe I'll let them upload a PDF if that's what they made. Or maybe if my students have made a video of them solving their math problem, I might let them upload video as well. I'll keep it to just image for now to show you what that process looks like. Maximum number of files, 1 per student. Maximum file size. We definitely don't need to go that big. Maybe you go here in case kids have like a super high resolution image. But again, really underutilized question type. So demoing these kind of 3 question types, what I'll do now is add a section break, right? So now in this section break, I might call this one video response section. So in here, now I'd like to add a video, right? So I'll do add video. It only lets you pull from YouTube. You cannot use videos that are in your Google Drive account. You can't use something that's on Vimeo or some random website. It has to be on YouTube. What you might want to do is, like, if you make your own instructional videos, you could put that on YouTube and then put your YouTube video in your own Google form. If you don't like doing that or you're not comfortable with that, don't worry about it. You can always pull reasonable content from YouTube. So I'll grab this water cycle video like I used yesterday, right? That drops in. We'll call this water cycle video. Now I'm going to describe this and go, please answer the 3 questions in this section that are based on the water cycle video. Right, so there's my water cycle video, and I can center that if I want. I'll do center align. I cannot make it any bigger. I don't have the ability to stretch it out. It kind of stays as it is. But now below this, I can now add questions, right? And I'll do answer the 1 question. And I will add now, below the water cycle video, I'll add a question. I'll go summarize the main ideas from the video above. And that's a paragraph response, and it's required. So that's it. Our form is built, right? We can fill this out now. And I'll actually have all of you fill it out. I'll give you the link to this. Now, to preview it, before my kids set eyes on this, I might want to check this out. So what I'm going to do now is go to the eyeball. That allows me to preview this thing. And I can even fill it out just to test it, to give it like a test run to make sure it's looking okay. And I'll do that now. So eyeball, last name, Kulik. First name, I'll pretend to be my daughter. I'll say she's in 1st grade, or 1st period, I'll hit next. So what did I coach? She better get this right. Basketball. Now we have to, and she better get this right. Like, I would be devastated if she didn't get this. Lakers, LeBron. Rockets, Harden, Celtics, Tatum, Raptors, Lowry. So I can't do that. It won't let me do, oh, actually, I could fill it out this way, but I can't have, notice I can't have multiple Rockets players on here because of the way I've set this up. So Harden, Celtics, or Tatum, Raptors, or Lowry. So there's my response. Now, file upload. This is the model I showed you earlier. If a student did some work already and had a screenshot, or they took a picture of their work with their phone and then sent that image to their device, their Chromebook, they can do a file upload. So upload an image of your math problem solving of the day. I'll do add file, and it just digs in and goes, where's the file? Is it on your laptop or your computer? Is it in your Google Drive account? So I'll do upload from my device, and I'll just grab a screenshot from something. Yeah, I'll just grab that screenshot. So I'm just uploading an image right now, and I'll say upload. And this is what the student would have to do. You might have to teach them how to do this. So notice, this is where the section break comes in handy, because if I click, if I don't have that, the kids have to scroll and scroll and scroll. And that can get a little bit overwhelming. So now they can just hit next. Right, so now it's watch the response here. There's the video, summarize. Here is my summary. I will hit submit, and that goes through to my teacher. Now, the end message that I get here, that can also be customized by you, so you can decide what the end user, what the student is going to see. So with that, I filled that out. Let me jump back to the form. Now, what we focused on so far is building. This is phase one, building. I did a little demo of kind of distributing and getting that form out to people, and that's what I want to demo, 2 different ways to do that now. If you're a Google Classroom user, you can 100% post this in Google Classroom. If you're not a Google Classroom user and you just want to post a link somewhere, there's another way to do that. Let me show you that now. If I want all of you to fill this out, I can simply tap send. So I'll tap on send, and then I can grab the link to my form. So even if, say you're in a live Google Meet with your students, right? And you want them to do like a quick check-in, maybe an end of Google Meet reflection question, or you want them to do an entry ticket as they're coming into your meeting, and that would be like maybe 3 or 4 check-in questions. You don't have to post it in Google Classroom. You can say, okay, hold on everyone, let me grab the link to the form. You can tap send, go to the link, copy that link, and then you might paste it in the chat, right? So that could absolutely work. One other thing to be aware of, and let's dig into the gear a little bit, and then I'll kind of stop and check in with everyone. If I dig into the gear, these are really important settings to understand. Under the general setting, if you make a form, it will always be restricted to your domain. So only people with a Triton Google account that are logged in can fill the form out. That's by default. If you want guardian, caregiver, mom and dad, someone at home to fill this out, you'd have to uncheck that box, or else they'll try to fill it and they'll say, sorry, you don't have a Triton Google account. If you check that box off, then you can also limit the respondents to 1 per user, because it will log their account and go, oh, sorry, you already filled this out. So these are important things to be aware of. I'm going to open this up so you can fill it out. Respondents can edit after each submission. Usually you want to turn that off or not leave it on. Respondents can see a summary. Usually we don't check that off. We don't want kids to see how other kids replied. Let's go to the presentation. Let me save those changes actually. I'll go back to the gear, back to the presentation tab. Now, do you want kids to see a progress bar? I think this can be pretty helpful so they have a sense of how much longer they're going to be working. This is the shuffling question that I let you know about earlier, where you have to build in sections as to not totally throw off the structure of your form. And then you might want to turn this off. Show link to submit again. You might want kids to just fill it out once and then not get prompted to do it again. The confirmation message can be interesting. I used to use this when I was teaching, whereas if kids walked in and they did like an entry ticket, like a little do now activity, I might put as their confirmation, like, thanks for submitting. Now please get out your writing journal and wait for your prompts, right? You'd have to get them used to kind of seeing that kind of thing, but you can You can even put links here. You might say, thanks for filling out the form. Here's the link to the article or the website or the activity that we're going to get started on next. You can put that there. Now the quizzes section, we'll get into that next, how you can make auto-graded quizzes. But with that, I will hit save. Now I'm going to send this to all of you and have you fill it out. While you're filling it out, I'm going to pull my screen down and check in with everyone and see if there's any questions you have. So I'm going to tap on send, grab the link. I'm going to copy this link. And what I'll do is just dump this link in the chat right now. Give me 1 second. If James, let me get some confirmation on your question as well. So if you're comfortable doing this, if you're kind of comfortable navigating multiple tabs, feel free to open up my form and fill it out right now, just so I can get lots of data that can roll in and I can show you what we can do with that data when I'm analyzing student responses. James, if you're comfortable, James, if you could unlock your mic to let me know. I'm not quite sure what the question was there, if you wouldn't mind. Or you can clarify it in the chat as well. So I'm going to give everyone a minute to fill that out. Don't worry about right answers. Just click on anything you want. Type any kind of response that you want. I just want to show you some of the data that's going to roll in. So James. Okay, perfect. Oh, Lisa, that's very odd. You clicked on the link and got kicked out of the meeting. That's a first. I mean, don't click on that link again. I've heard of a lot of things. I've never heard of that before. So I apologize if you got bumped from the meeting. That's very odd. Sorry about that, Lisa. Oh, Lisa, I'll put the link back. Yeah, you came back in. Hold on. There you go. When you leave and come back, the chat kind of disappears. So there's the new link. No worries, Lisa. It happens to everyone. I got bumped out of every PD I ran yesterday when I was using Google Meet, so it's not just you. All right, I'm going to keep an eye and see how many respondents we have. So 3 respondents. I'll just give you another minute or two. So I see the respondents coming in right now. So I'll wait for maybe just, once we get up to 10, then I'll go live and I will show you my screen again and show you what we can do with the data, the information, and where it's going to end up. I will check in with everyone, and then we can decide if we want to go down the route of making branching forms or graded quizzes. And we can probably pull both of them off in the time frame that we have anyway. All right. I have 10 respondents, 11 respondents. It's a critical mass. I can show you some data now. So if you file upload is, yeah, so James, every question is required. Don't worry about it if you got blocked there or you don't feel like doing that. Oh yeah, so Shauna, if you're running into any issue, I probably should have pulled out that file upload question. Please don't worry about that. We can stop there. I'm gonna go show you some data on the form. So let's stop there. I'm gonna go present my screen to you and show you what's going on. So I have 17 people that responded. On the top of my form, I have the questions tab right here, and right next to it, I have the response tab. I'm going to tap on the response tab. The response tab has 3 different views up front. I can see a summary of all of your responses. So question 1, question 2, question 3, question 4, how you answered these and did the matching, all of the images that you uploaded. Some people were able to upload that, how you answered the open response, right? I can also go to a question view in the middle, and that's like a per question analysis. So how did you answer last name? How did you answer first name? How did you answer what did I coach? This will be interesting. Let's check that out. Right, so 14 of you said basketball, 4 said football, 2 said soccer. I would never be qualified to coach these bottom 2 sports. So it's basketball that is the correct answer. I can see match the player, and I can see how people kind of answered this question here with the matching. Now the other thing I have is individual. If I tap on individual, this lets me scroll through student by student. So there's student 1, that was Harper, then Matt filled it out, and then Carol filled it out, and then Erica filled it out. So I can go student by student to see how each individual student filled this out. That's going to come in handy when we make graded quizzes if you want to like override open response scores or modify individual responses, and I'll demo that in a second. Now, this is the critical part. If you're newer to Google Forms, this might be something that you haven't done before. We talked about the 3 phases. The creation phase, I did that live. Distribution, you get the link to your form or you post the form in Google Classroom as a quiz or as an assignment or a piece of material. Phase 3 is viewing the spreadsheet. So let's do that now. I'm going to tap on this little green button. And when I tap on that, it says, would you like to make a new spreadsheet or an existing spreadsheet? Now, if I make a new spreadsheet, all of your answers in this form will point to a brand new spreadsheet. This can get really interesting, and I'll do this later in the PBL session. If I select existing spreadsheet, I did this back when I was teaching in Plymouth, I might have like each unit, I might do like an opening check, like a pre-assessment and a post-assessment. I can have both of those assessments from Google Forms point to the same spreadsheet. So I might have Renaissance unit pre-assessment point to my Renaissance spreadsheet. I might have Renaissance unit post-assessment point to my Renaissance spreadsheet. Then I have tabs on the bottom of the spreadsheet with pre and post, right? So that can be super helpful. I'm going to make a new one and hit create. It will make a new tab. I give it just a minute. That tab's going to bump open, and here's all of your responses. Right, so this is what it looks like. That's how you answered class period. What did I coach? And I said, you know, match the player. So Lakers should be LeBron, Rockets should be Harden, Celtics should be Tatum, Raptors should be Lowry. Now this is where it gets really interesting. The image upload option where I said, upload an image of your work. You can't put images in a spreadsheet, but you can put links in a spreadsheet. These are links to all of the images that you uploaded. And the reality is what really happened is that that image upload question, I'll put all of these images into a folder in my Google Drive account. So if I want to see all of your images, I can click View Folder. This is on the Google Form Response tab, Summary. I can do, hold on one sec. I can do View Folder. It's going to bump open a new tab. And notice the path on the top of what just happened. My Drive, Triton Demo 1 file responses, please upload your image. These are all of the images that you uploaded for me. So I'll go to grid mode. And now if you were students in my math class, oh, this is awesome. We actually have some math work sent in. So I can see all of the screenshots that you sent, or all the images. Thank you for sending the elf image, Marianne. Super timely and appropriate. I love stuff like that. So that's where all the data went. Now on the spreadsheet, if I need to see, for example, Pat's image, right, I can just click on this link, open the link, and that will, sorry, Pat, I have to demo the first one that popped up. There's the image that Pat sent through. There we go. So that's the evidence of that student's work in an image upload format. And then here's my paragraph response. So this is a really interesting one that you can take advantage of. So with that, let's stop sharing. Let me come back to the group. We do have a good amount of people, so I know it might be a little bit odd or uncomfortable to open up your mic, but are there any questions? Can I review anything? Like, we're halfway through the section. We covered all of the kind of core basics of building, distributing, and collecting. I think what I'd like to shift to now is the idea of making branching forms or auto-graded quizzes and show you what that experience is going to be like. If there's any questions, let me know in the chat. If you want to kind of share with your microphone, you can absolutely unlock your mic or just indicate in the chat like, hey, Greg, I have a question. Can I unlock my mic? I'll just give you a minute to kind of think about that, and then we can just keep moving forward if everything's okay. All right, looks like we're good to go. I say we keep going. Let me do a screen share, and we will go live to a form. And what we'll do this time is demonstrate how we can make graded quizzes. So wait for my screen share to push up. All right, so form.new. Let's do the whole graded quizzes process, and then after that we'll do branching. All right, so I'll do Triton graded quiz demo. All right, so here we go. We will do last name, first name, section break. quiz section. Add some questions. So we'll do this one again. What did Greg coach? Football, soccer, basketball, wrestling. All right, let's add another one. What did I teach? Math, science, English, history, marketing. Okay. And then we'll do one more. How many kids does Greg have? I think they crashed the meeting yesterday, so you might have an answer. I don't recall if they crashed this meeting. They crash at least 2 or 3 meetings a day that I have. All right, so there's my question, right? So these are all multiple choice. They're all required. I can auto grade these very easily. Now, what we're also going to add is an open response, and I'll show you why. I'm going to add a question, open response, graded demo. Let's see, just write something. Okay. So that is going to be short answer paragraph, and it's required, and I'm going to add a point value to that, but I'll show you how I can grade it after the fact. Now I need to make this a quiz. So I'm going to go gear. I'm not going to restrict it to EdTech teacher because you need to be able to fill this out. I'll go back to the gear, go to quizzes, and go make this a quiz. Now, what do I want you to get? Immediately get your response back, or later after I review it? I'm going to do later because I have an open response question that I want to grade. I don't want you to see your grade and go, well, why did I get a, whatever score? I know I did a really thorough open response. It's only because I didn't grade it yet. Oh, Adam, let me check out, see what you wrote in the chat. So Patrick let me just pull my screen down. Hold on a second. Has the security issue with auto-graded quizzes been fixed? I know you can right-click. You can find the answer in the code. That's not good. We've been looking for a secure way to give damp on it. Why would you limit the response to 1? Patrick, I heard about this idea floating around that kids can kind of see what the responses are. I haven't really dug into it much. I'll do some research after the session in the break, but I'm not kind of aware of either a fix or kind of an outstanding problem either way. If you have any, like if there's like an article that you saw or a link, if you could drop it in the chat, I'd be curious to check it out. Lee or Patrick, if you could share any follow-up, that would be super helpful. Oh, no problem. Don't feel like it's super pressing, but I would love to see it. And I'll check into some Google Help forums as well. So with that, let's get back to our graded quiz. Now, I'm going to send it out later. What can I let you see? Missed questions, correct answers, point value. I'll let you see everything because I'm going to send it out later anyway. So let me save that setting. But also, now that it's a quiz, right, and I want to send your results back to you later, I need to collect your email address, or else I have nowhere to send the results to. As soon as I say quiz later after review, it automatically turns on collect their email address. So that'll be the first question you can see right here. What's your email address? I didn't put that there. Google put it there for me. Now I need to code this, right? So if I tap on this question, what did I coach? I have to go answer key on the bottom. Basketball is the right answer. And I'll make that worth 5 points, and I will hit done. Then I need to do that with this question, do that with this question, and do that with this question. Now the open response one, there's no right answer. I'm just saying put something and I'll give you points. I have to go answer key, give it a point value, right? And then I hit done. So I need to have a point value associated with it. I'll grade it later. I'm going to just stop sharing for a second so I can code the other answers so we can actually make this like a somewhat live demo of a quiz there. So I added my responses to the second 2 multiple choice questions. Let me get back to my screen share. Actually, no, I don't need the screen share. I'm just going to get all of you the link to this. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to put the link to this in the chat. In this one, I would love for you to fill out. Oh, Patrick, thanks for sharing that. I'm going to check that out later. Patrick, I'll check in with my contact at Google as well to see if there's some documentation on how to avoid that problem. So if you could do me a favor, if you can click on that link in the chat to the Google form and take my little mini quiz, and I'll give you a few moments, maybe just 3 or 4 minutes to fill that out. Please don't worry about accuracy or getting anything right. And I'm going to keep an eye on the responses and see how they roll in. Awesome. We have 7 responses. Again, I'll wait till we're at like maybe 15 or 20 response number. And then I'll show you how we can do the grading, how it will auto grade. I'll have to override your open response grades, and then I'll push the grades back out to you. So we'll deal with that in just a moment. All right, we're at 20. I'm going to do another screen share. And if you haven't filled it out, please don't worry about it. If you're in the process of filling it out, go ahead and finish up those last few questions. And I will show you what this will look like in terms of me collecting data, grading these, and pushing the grades back out to you. So if I go to the response tab now, the summary, not really helpful. Question, not super helpful. Individual is going to be really helpful because I need to go one by one and override your open response grades. Now notice right here, it says score has not been released and release score. So I'm going to look at Marianne's initial response. I'll scroll all the way down. Please write something. Awesome, Marianne. Marianne wrote something. I have to save that update. That score update gets saved to her form, and that update is going to push to the spreadsheet. So let's toggle from Marianne to student 2. I'll look at Spencer, scroll all the way down. Spencer, awesome, you wrote something, save. Toggle to the next student. And like, obviously this is not going to be ideal if I have 100 students, right? And you might be really kind of careful about how many times you do open responses and the amount of time and energy it'll take you. So I'll do it. I'm only going to do a handful of these. I'll drop a 10 on there and hit save. So now that I've graded 4 students, if I now tap on release score, I can go, okay, I graded Marianne, Spencer, Ellen, and I think I graded Michelle. So I can take these 4 scores and do send, email, and release. Those 4 students should now have an email where they can click and see how they did. Right, so I would have to go through and do all of those open responses, and I can release them all or release them when I'm ready to. Let me show you a few more really interesting things you can do here. If I want this form to turn off, like, hey, this is open Monday until 10 o'clock, that's like your Monday due now, first thing to start the week. If I click that switch, if a student tries to open the form, it will say, sorry, the administrator closed it. That form is not accepting responses. I can turn it back on, but that's like a manual on and off with that switch. Let me open up this spreadsheet and show you some really awesome stuff you can do here. I will open up the spreadsheet, create a new spreadsheet, and a new tab is going to open up, and my spreadsheet should be there momentarily. We're almost there. Hopefully Google is happy and it's going to make me a spreadsheet. There we go. I'm sure you were all super excited when Google had their outage the other day and you couldn't use the tool for almost the entire day. I was keeping my fingers crossed that we weren't having another outage. So notice these scores, right? So Marianne, Spencer, Ellen, and Michelle, they all have accurate scores because I updated the Google form with the grading. So everyone from Olivia down, these scores are all completely inaccurate, right? But if I override the spreadsheet, like for example, I'm gonna go to Olivia's response, right? So I'm here. I'll go to Olivia, scroll down. So right now it says she got a 15 out of 25, but if I scroll down and I drop a 10 down here, right? And I save that, if I go back to the spreadsheet, notice that Olivia's grade, I might have to do a refresh, but Olivia's grade is gonna change to 25 out of 25 because the form pushes that new updated grade to the spreadsheet. You just have to wait for that to update. It could take a second for that to push over. But this grade, this updated 25 out of 25 will push over. And then when I release the score, I'll release Olivia's right now, send email and release. She will get that update there. See how it just changed? I didn't change that. Google did it. Olivia, 25 out of 25. Now, what can we do here, right? The grade is great. It's super helpful. But I always like to kind of visualize this a little bit to get a sense of how did you respond. Like black text on a white background, like it's hard for me to see exactly what's going on. Let me show you my favorite way to analyze the spreadsheet to see how kids are really doing. For example, I said, what did I coach? Watch what I can do here. If I tap on column F, and then I go to format, conditional formatting, it's an if-then statement on column F, meaning I get to set a rule. So here's my little rule that I can set in all of column F. If column F, the text is exactly the word basketball, make it green because you got it right. Let's add another rule. In column F, if the text does not contain basketball, if it's anything else, let's set the opposite rule. We'll make that red and I will hit done. So now I can visualize this really quickly and see who got it right and wrong. We'll do the same thing here. I'll go to column H. We'll do this again. So column H, format, conditional formatting. Let's set a rule. If the text is exactly 2, green is correct. I can add the opposite. If the text does not contain, right, anything opposite a 2, then we'll have that light up red and I will hit done. So now, again, a quick visualization of like, how did people answer that? And to me, that's much easier than black text on a white background. Now I can look for trends, right? And we'll do column G and I'll look for trends on how students did. Column G, add a rule. If the text is exactly history, make it green, add another rule. If the text does not contain history, let's make it red and hit done. So now I can look across and go, oh, I definitely need to check in with Jim. Sorry, Jim, no offense at all. And I definitely need to check fire Brad Stevens. Jeez. I need to check in with asterisk student who has had it with Brad Stevens as the Celtics head coach. He does a great job. He just really didn't handle end of game situations 2 times in a row well at all. So this is super helpful for me. So the students that have 2 reds or 3 reds, I know I need to check in with them. If a whole column is red, then I can question whether I explained the idea thoroughly enough or any of the activities I made were built to what I was actually trying to measure. So that's conditional formatting, just a little bonus to throw in there. Now, I want to make one more form, and this last form is going to be branching. And I know this is more of an advanced approach, but I think it's super helpful. My favorite way that I've seen branching forms, there was a teacher in Alpharetta, Georgia. I'll never forget working with her. She had bright blue hair and was an art teacher and was just a phenomenally positive and inspiring teacher. She showed me a form that she made where on Monday, the kids would open the form up. They would do last name, first name, and then there was a multiple choice question. And it was, how would you like to demonstrate your understanding today? Would you like to answer multiple choice questions, watch a video and reply, analyze an image and reply, do an open response, or upload an evidence of your work? So based on how they answered that, they would go down a different path. And she would have them fill that out 3 times a week, filling out 3 of the 5 options. So let me show you how we can build this. I'll call this Triton branching demo. So Triton branching demo. Last name. Name, section break. So I'll do choose your path. What would you like? Would you like to demonstrate your understanding today? So option 1, multiple choice. Option 2, open response. Option 3, video and reply. Option 4, image analysis. Option 5, upload work. Now, what I have to do is make a section for each one of those paths that we'll go down. So I'm going to do a section now, and I'll call this section multiple choice. I will add another section, and I'll call this one open response. I'll add another section called video and reply. Let's do another section called image analysis. And one more section of upload my work. So I've made all my sections. I've picked my paths that the kids are going to go down. We're not done yet. Let's go back to the multiple choice question. If I click on these little triple dots right here, triple dots, go to section based on answer. And if I click on this, every multiple choice option can now have a unique path. So if you pick multiple choice, I'm going to send you to the multiple choice section. If you pick open response, I'm going to send you to open response. If you pick video and reply, I'm sending you to video and reply. Image analysis, I'm sending you to image analysis. Thanks for being patient. Upload work, I'm sending you to upload work. Right, so I've determined the path you'll go down. Now, if you pick multiple choice, don't worry about that. That gets overridden by this. You will go here to multiple choice. But if you go to multiple choice, I don't want you continuing to the next section when you're done. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So what I might do is go to the bottom and add another section that says thank you. Please submit 3 by the end of the week. So now, if you pick multiple choice and you go to the multiple choice section, what I'm going to do is tell you where to go next. You will go down to the thank you section. If you go open response and you skip to open response, where will you go next? I'll send you to the thank you section. Video and reply, I'll send you to the thank you section. Image analysis, send you to the thank you section. Upload your work, send you to the thank you section. So that's it. I built my branching. Now I have to build my content. So if I go into the multiple choice section, there's not a question. Will the Celtics win game 7? Yes. No. Let's go to the next one. Open response. Sorry for the context. Please don't worry about the context. You can put anything that's reasonable that you might do. The game is pressing on my mind, so that's why I'm thinking about this stuff. So video or in reply, I can go in here, add a video. There's game 6, so I'm going to grab that, drop the video in. Please watch and respond. Right, so below that, I'm going to add an open response, video response. I'll make that a paragraph. We're almost there. Image analysis, I would go in here. I would add an image. Let's do a Google image search. Go to my go-to. I always use the water cycle as a demo. So I've inserted that image of the water cycle, and then I would do like, please explain the process above. Take that paragraph, and then the last one, upload my work. I would add, right, an upload question. Continue. I'll do only specific file types. I will only take images up to 100 megabytes. And that's it. So that's been built. So now what does it look like when the student experiences it? I'll demo this for you right now. I'll go to the eyeball and I'll role play the student now. So last name, Kulowick. First name, I'll be my little guy. Next. How would you like to demonstrate? Oh, I absolutely want to watch that video. So I go video and reply. I hit next. Now I can watch this video. Right, so I watch the whole thing and I go, the Celtics and Kemba blew it. Next. And it brings me to, thank you, please submit 3 by the end of the week. No problem, I hit submit. Now, later in the week, I can open this back up. I'll do the same thing. So you can see what the data is going to look like. I'll be the same student again. So this time I'll do open response, hit next. There's my response. Hit next. Submit that through, and I'll do my third one for the week because I want you to see what the data will look like. Here's my last entry for the week. Hit next. Let's do multiple choice this time. And I am fairly confident. We'll hit next. Now let's check out the spreadsheet, right? The student filled that out 3 times. Let's go to their spreadsheet. I'll go to the response tab, open up the spreadsheet, create a new spreadsheet. Now notice here, this is critical if you're going to do these branch chain forms. When the student filled it out, obviously the student the first time didn't see this, didn't see this, didn't see the 4th question, so they went right to video response. So I can see the question type that they worked on, and then I can see what the response was to that question type. So this doesn't, I mean, I recognize that that whole process might be a bit much. You might think, I don't know if I really build something like that. I understand, like, it's a bit much of a process. The building can take a while. And the model that I showed you was let the students kind of branch based on how they want to answer questions, but you can take a totally different approach. You might ask a question and you might have the right answer and a few distractors. And if they get it right, they advance to the next question, which is in a different section. If they get it wrong, they might go a different route. Maybe they get a new question, they get it rephrased, they get it worded differently, they work on that one. So if you get it right, you go here. If you get it wrong, you might go here. Now, what can you do with the kids that got it wrong? Have them do something here and then send them to the next question. So it's not a factor of, you're not so much worried, did you get it wrong or right? But if you get it wrong, I want to know why, like what happened, explain what you were, why you answered it that way, or work on another version of the problem and then move forward. Or you can say, if you get it right, you go to the next question. If you get it wrong, you go down here, get a little bit of support or mediation, maybe watch a video, see an example, and then you can loop them back and have them work on question 1 again. So when you're done with a section, you don't have to push people forward. You can loop them back if you want to. Now, if you loop someone back, you will only see the latest entry they did. So you can't have 2 responses in a cell. You'll know they got it wrong because they'll have the wrong path filled out, but they'll also go back, hopefully get it right, and then go down the right path. So I know that can be a little bit much, especially if you've never done it before, but I wanted you to just kind of be aware that that was possible in terms of building a form. There's actually one more question type that I'd like to show you, and this has to do with building forms that almost unlock when students get the right answer. Well, let me show you what I mean. I'll call this try and unlock demo. Last name, first name. I'll add a section break and I'll call this unlock 1. I'm going to add a question, right? It's going to be a short answer. Who won game 6 last night? Right? So I'm going to make this a short answer question. But I want the kids to have to get this right to advance to the next one. So I'll go triple dots, response validation. Right? So who won game 6? It has to be text. The text must contain Raptors, and if not, I can say try again. If they get that right and they put Raptors, they will now get to the next section. I'll do a section break. I'll do another one here. Let's see, and we can do something more specific. Oops, we'll call this unlock 2. We'll just call this new section. Add a question. We'll say, who is the Celtics head coach? Now, I don't want to give them the choices. I want them to know. So I'll do short answer, triple dots, response validation. It's text. It must contain. Right, so you have to put the full name. I would say full name, try again. If they put Stevens or if they put Brad, that won't be right. You have to have that exactly. Right, so what does this look like? Let me fill this out and show you. I'll go to the eyeball menu. So last name, I'll be my dog this time. So who won the game last night? If I didn't watch it and I say Celtics and I try to click through, it says try again. So I can't advance. So I go, oh, that's right, it was the Raptors. Then I advance. Who's the Celtics head coach? Stevens, submit. Full name, try again. Brad Stevens, submit, and now my form has been sent through. So I've worked with math teachers where they want kids to work on a problem, but they don't want to give them all the multiple choice answers. So they do the problem, they have them work on paper, do a short response answer, like a one-word response, but they turn on response validation. They say it must be a number, it must be equal to this number. So the answer is 7. They can't write S-E-V-E-N. They have to put the digit 7 because you're saying it must be a numeric number and it must be equal to. And then your little response validation message could be use numeric and check your work. Right, it's not like you're grading these things. You want the kids to keep working until they get it right so they can move forward. Or you might want them to go search for a response, enter the data, like they're checking their notes or checking their text or checking their work, enter the response, and that allows them to unlock to get to the next challenge. So that could be another interesting way, to kind of build assessments in Google Forms. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing. Oh, sorry, Regina, I missed that one. So Douglas, yes, it's case sensitive. Richard, if you use Google Classroom, do we need their email and name on the form? I like using names all the time because on the spreadsheet, I like to filter by last name. So I always do last name, first name. Regina, it looks like you're good. I'm kind of going back to Lee. To prevent cheating, create an assignment, not a quiz, making sure that this is a quiz toggle is turned off before sending out the assignment. Once you finish accepting responses in the assignment, turn the make this a quiz option on and the answer key turn on is required. Lee, I'm not quite sure I'm following your process there. That's kind of a new approach to me. I'd love to understand more of that. It seems like it could be really helpful for people. Maybe we can connect for just like a minute or two when we're done. So yes, this will be recorded. I'm actually going to stop the recording right now. So we now have an archive.